afternoon, everyone. We are from Group Venus, and now we want to present our thoughts about critical journal review. And I want to introduce my group member. My name is Lucia Knesia Stangga, and then my friend and Mia Fernanda Munte and Dumayanti Batubara. And now our topic in this journal is the importance of vocal in speaking in public. And now we're going to preface. Praise and gratitude we pray for the presence of God Almighty, because with His grace authors were able to complete a critical journal review with good, even though there are many shortcomings in it. Authors hope that this journal must be critical. This journal can be useful for readers to know the content of the books along with the advantage and disadvantage of the book. Authors are too fully aware that in this critical journal there are shortcomings and far from an perfect work. Therefore, authors hope for criticism, suggestion, and for the sake of improvements. Prepare critical journal that authors have made in the future, considering remembering that not something is perfect without constructive suggestion. And this is our table of content in our critical journal review. And we're going to chapter 1, introduction. The background we have in this journal critical review. Critical journal review is an activity to review a journal in order to know and understand the study of the journal. Basically, journal review contain evaluation, explanation, interpretation, and analysis regarding the strengths and weakness, what is interesting, and how the journal can change perceptions and ways of thinking, as well as a consideration of whether the knowledge gained is able to increase understanding of a particular field of study, train the ability to analyze and evaluate the discussion presented by the author so that it becomes a valuable input for the writer's recreative process. And we're going to the purpose of writing critical journal review. Critical journal review was created with the aim of learning through the fulfillment of the tasks of the philosophy course, Department of English Literature, State University of Medan, to make a critical journal review so that it can increase knowledge to see or compare two or several good and correct journals. After being able to compare, you will be able to make a journal because you can compare which journal are good and which journals still need to be improved, and also because you already understand the steps of making a journal. And there are benefits of writing critical journal review. The first, can compare two or more review journals. Second, can improve our analysis of a journal. Third, so that we can know the correct CGR writing techniques. 4, and can write a good and correct journal. 5, increase our knowledge about the contents of research journal. And we have 3 journals that we review. The first journal, the title, The Importance of Voice Control in Public Speaking, a case study of Toko Nilam Primary School. And the writer is Sabaria Aman Jamri Muhammad. This journal was publication in 2022, and the language using English. The pages have 14 pages, and ISSN 21514755. And the second journal, the title is The Importance of Speaking in English as a Foreign Language Between Skillful and Thoughtful Competence, Studying Sociolinguistic Perspective. And the writer is Sudarmo, publication year 2020 and 21, and language English. And the third journal is titled The Organizational Voice, The Importance of Voice, Speech, and Speech Threat in Organization Crisis Communication. Writer Aurélie de Wiley and Sophie M. Caroline Cobert. Public year 20 and 19. Language English. And we're next to chapter 2 about journal analysis that be described my friends Dumayanti Batubara.
Okay, I will explain chapter 2 is about journal analysis. Journal 1, abstract. Good voice control can attract the interest and attention of the audience. However, the skills are difficult to master among students due to a lack of knowledge and experience. Studies relate to voice control in Malay language, delivery strategy among tokoh nilam. From the aspect of voice control while doing public speaking, a total of 14 participants were selected using purposive sampling. There are 14 tokoh nilam who won the Nilam Award at the state's interviews and observations. Okay, next, introduction. Communication is process which an individual or a communicator press and stimulus is usually with language symbols such as verbal or non-verbal to change the behavior of learning Malay in primary schools. 5 skills are one of the basic skill that must be mastered by every student. Next, method. This research uses a qualitative approach. A research method is a strategy process of teaching used in collecting data or evidence for analysis to uncover new information or create a better understanding of a topic. Discuss. The interview findings found the Nilam feature stated of intonation plays an important role in speech because it can attract the interest and attention of the audience to listen and the topic presented. The study of delivery strategy in this aspect of voice mastery when doing public speaking in the context of Nilam features is explained through three stats components, namely intonation, tone, voice, and pronunciation. Next, result. The result of Nilam's interview in delivering a speech is that the intonation conveyed is very clear, does not make the audience bored listening to it, and the audience can understand from the delivery or speech the height and how voice settings are appropriate. Also good. The pronunciation is also correct, very clearly used to capture the interest and attention of the audience. Nggak nampak apa kecil kali. Diskusnya nggak ada. Okay, and then conclusion. The findings of the study how that tokonilam can attract the interest and attention of the audience through intonation, tone, voice, and clear pronunciation in the presentation. These findings are live with the line with the state by Mufanti et al. 2016 apa?
2016.
Ya, ulang. Kayaknya sama lah. Ulang ya. Apa? Okay, and then conclusion. The finding of this study show that tokoh nilam can attract the interest and attention of the audience through intonation, tone, voice, and clear pronunciation in the presentation. These findings are in line with udahlah sampai situ aja.
Stop kan?
And then conclusion. The findings of this study show that tokoh nilam can attract the interest and attention of the audience through intonation, tone, voice, and clear pronunciation in the presentation. Okay, next journal is journal 2.
Will be continue.
Okay, next journal will be continue will be continued. Okay, journal 2 I will be continue to Enmia Fernanda Munte.
Hello, I will be continue the journal too. It starts from abstract. Speaking in the virgin language requires competence in the language skills itself, and mindfulness of the contents of the speech is easier to reach and by the interlocutor. To understand the relationship between skillful and thoughtful in speaking English, we conducted a series of data collection with the help of an electronic engine based on Google Scholar data. We target this data in several international journal publications that discuss these two variables. After the data has been collected, it is then analyzed by involving a coding system and in-depth evaluation under a descriptive qualitative study. Before drawing data conclusions, we ensure that the data results meet reasonable and reliable standards. Based on the discussion of the findings, we can conclude that speaking in the English as a virgin language requires skillful and thoughtful competence so that the interlocutor can easily understand the contents of the conversation. Thus, the findings should be a meaningful input for many parties in learning English. Introduction. English has an important role in the many cases. It can be used in all world activities such as conferences, sport events, and world trade, business, and daily life communication. Speaking is kind of productive skill that has an important role in communication. Students can enhance their English input through speaking. Speaking is the way to communicate with other people by conveying the ideas. Feeling, create, and build the information. Speaking English also become the important because it is very helpful for facing the globalization era. In the other words, Al Nakhalah 2016 believes that students have problems and difficulties in speaking, so that they encounter English. A student's confidence will increase because students have speaking competence with lots of practice to ensure that their English is excellent and convincing. Leong and Ahmadadi 2017, Essen et al. 2019. Suroso et al. 2021. Therefore, this research aims to determine the classification of anxiety levels, what factors make students anxiety in speaking class, and what is the impact of anxiety in student speaking performance. Discussion. Students' achievement Student achievement on the test improved from 64 16 in the first cycle to 7984 with the percentage of students who has passed KKM 90 62%. The result of students' performance and teachers' performance compared with the previous cycle also improved. Conclusion. Reciprocal teaching technique has improved the students' reading comprehension on narrative text, especially in finding the main idea and moral value. On the second grade, students of SMA Negeri 10 Pontianak in academic year 2012 or 2013, the improvements are related to both the activeness of process in the classroom and the students' achievement on the test. Finally, the researchers hopes that result of this research can be reference for the English teacher to enhance their techniques in teaching in order to help their students comprehend the text, especially narrative text. Okay, the next slide will be continued by Lucy Sitanggang.
Okay, now I want to explain about Journal 3, the abstract. Research on crisis communication has mainly focused on verbal aspect of organizational responses. However, the non-verbal cues of the organizational spokesperson communicating about the crisis may also influence stakeholders' perceptions. This study examines the impact of two vocal cues, voice pitch and speech rate. In addition, the study examines how these cues affect perceptions of organization depending on the message verbal content. And the introduction. Verbal aspects of crisis communication research has mainly focused on the content of crisis communication. In particular, most studies have examined the impact of crisis response strategies such as apologizing or denying responsibility on organizational reputation. Ferry et al. 2010. Nonverbal communication has been studied extensively in the context of impression formation. Because people's opinion about another person is not only based on what a person says, but also to a large extent on visual and vocal cues. Impression formation and impression management literature has repeatedly inspired crisis communication research, for example, by examining corporate image as an impression formation process and by exploring which impression management strategies organizations use. Vocal cues in crisis communication, although the effects of voice pitch and speech rate that have been found in line fields. TQ at 20 and 12 are relevant in crisis communication. Research on the influence of vocal cues applied in a crisis communication context is very limited. One study investigated the effect of voice pitch on the perception of an organizational spokesperson in times of crisis. And this journal discussion, the literature indicates that a low voice pitch and slow pitch rate and a high voice pitch and fast speech rate cover in natural speech, which makes those combinations the most frequently heard and thus the most natural combination. Bond and Feldstein. However, in this experiment, the interaction between voice pitch and speech rate didn't lead to statistically significant difference in the perceived naturalness of the voice. Thus, the most frequently heard combination of voice pitch and speech rate were not consequently perceived as more natural. This indicates that from this experiment, perceived naturalness of the voice cannot be compared as an explanatory factor in the relations between a spokesperson's vocal cues and post-structural repetition in times of crisis. And we'll give a discussion for this journal. These studies had several limitations that future research should address. First, the studies had no control condition with natural levels of the vocal cues. Therefore, the baseline effect of the spread manipulated cues couldn't be addressed because one manipulated level of vocal cue was always combined with a manipulated level of the other vocal cue. Future research should include control conditions for vocal cues in order to check the individual effect of voice pitch and speech rate in comparison with natural average levels of the other vocal cue. And the conclusion and result from this journal, this article show that vocal cues interact with the content of crisis communication and determine post-crisis reputation. Moreover, the impact of the interaction is partly mediated by the attractiveness of the voice. These results have important implications for crisis communication research and practice. For research, this study indicates that it is important to study not only the content of crisis communication but also nonverbal cues. Until now, crisis communication research has mainly focused on the impact of verbal cues and to a lesser extent on nonverbal visual cues. The studies in the current article show that vocal cues have an impact on crisis outcome as well, and their role should not be neglected in crisis communication research. Okay, and now we are going to chapter 3. We'll talk about journal advantage and disadvantages that will be continue my friend Damayanti Batubara.
Okay, chapter 3 about journals, advantage and disadvantage. The advantage of journal 1, the discuss of this journal is very clear starting from the vocabulary and the material which is very related and the method is very clear. Advantage of journal 2, this journal present image relates to findings and discuss a fairly complete materials in the subheadings in the journal that are complete and detailed. Then the advantage of the journal is that the author can develop some small points but important enough to be studied, and the author does it quite well. The contents of the journal are neatly arranged, simple and not long-winded. Advantage of journal 3, this journal is our opinion is the most obvious. In describe about public speaking, there are many opinions of experts who support this journal. Reference present by the author are so much that this journal is very reliable. The disadvantage of journal 1, there are some topics that are difficult to understanding for readers, so as requirements testing analysis and hypothesis testing. Disadvantage of journal 2, reference listed in this journal are not so much, their journal are less alluring. Disadvantage of journal 3, this journal has a blur of meaning and several subheadings and make the reader a little confused. Okay, I will be continuing chapter 4 from 2 and Mia Fernanda Munti.
Okay, chapter 4. Closing. Conclusion. Each written work certainly has characteristics that differ from one another, both in terms of language, advantage, and disadvantage. Journals must contain information that has been clearly explained by the author regardless of the shortcomings contained in the journal, but it is certain that each journal will bring benefits to readers in terms of more information income. In industry journals, there is an abundance of information that which makes readers interested in reading of analysis or analyzing journals. That is what we have done. Above we have presented a summary and also the advantage and disadvantage of each journal that is expected to be comparison between the opinions of the readers of the journal. Suggestion. The advantage of the three journals should be further maintained and strengthened, and the shortcomings of the journal should be further researched to achieve maximum results. Okay, the closer will be next by Lucy Sitangga.
Okay guys, that's all our explanation about our critical journal review about speaking, and we'll say thank you for your attention guys. Thank you, bye bye.